But let's start in the studio, shall we? Reflecting on this victory, Ali, for Real Madrid, which I suppose, given what we saw in the first game, it was all about just getting over the line today, wasn't it?
It was, and 7 minutes in, the game changed dramatically because of the red card to Raul Asencio. And so, in some ways, you can argue that it's the worst thing that could have happened to Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso, the fact that they go down a man. But in other ways, you can argue it's the best thing that could have happened to Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid. We saw a better version of Real Madrid and a more organized, better structured Real Madrid with 10 men than we did with 11. Up until the red card, I can tell you how many times Pachuca actually got in behind Real Madrid. They were trying to squeeze out, but not putting pressure on the ball. The spaces were in behind, open, and nobody in this world loves Salomón Rondón more than I do. Vamos, Venezuela. Yes, I've said that time and time again. But Salomón Rondón shouldn't be running in behind and getting in behind your back line as often as he did. He got in behind. Kennedy got in behind. You're talking about players that right now at this point in their careers can't really run all that well, and yet they were constantly dangerous, at least for the first 7 minutes of the match. So it tells you that playing 11v11, Real Madrid were struggling to pressure the ball. That changed after the red card because, again, Real Madrid became better structured, better organized defensively, and then they lean on their talent going forward. And what I thought was critical is to see once Real Madrid is able to complete 3 or 4 passes with speed, with purpose in the attack, then you start seeing the superior quality that they have in those attacking positions. And I thought Jude Bellingham joining late is what you would want to see if you're Xabi Alonso. Arda Güler, who there's been a lot of conversation about him getting more touches on the ball under Xabi Alonso. We saw that today. It was evidence of that in terms of how he joined in the attack for the goal. And then we saw from Xabi Alonso as well the willingness, and I think more so than the willingness is the demands that he's making from this team, and in particular of Vini, who time and time again during that first half, you could hear Xabi Alonso and you could see Xabi Alonso in the sidelines telling Vini, you can't just hang out over there on the left. You got to come in the middle. You got to come and join here. The game is going over here on the right-hand side. You got to tuck inside and participate in the game both defensively and offensively. Those are little changes that are happening under Xabi Alonso. These are the times to make those changes, to make those adjustments, so that whenever league play starts, they're ready to go. But this was, while it wasn't a huge step forward, it wasn't a leap forward, it was a step forward nonetheless.
I think we've got to give Vinny some credit here, and I don't think he played particularly well when he was on the ball. But to me, he did the running that he didn't do previously. Whether he was out of position or not and he's been told to get in, he actually followed instruction. And the amount of times that he was trying to close the goalkeeper down, trying to close defenders down, even with 10 men, has to be good going forward, because if there was one thing he wasn't doing, it's exactly what he was doing in this game. Listen, I think going down to 10 men, no question, helped Madrid because of the shape, because he couldn't go and squeeze, and so they had a solid platform. But you got to say, Pachuca played right into their hands.
Right.
I mean, when you're a man up and you still play with 4 at the back, and they all just sit in a line, I mean, you're just wasting the opportunity. And that's why, because Real Madrid have got smart players that know what they're about, they could play through Pachuca and score the 3 goals, and they might have scored more. So in some strange way, going down to 10 men helped them.
And let's talk about the man who got sent off, shall we, Frank? Raul Asencio, of course, thrown into the mix last season because the injuries that Carlo Ancelotti had to deal with. This is the second time in 2 games we've seen him obviously give up a penalty and this time give up a red card. From what you've seen of him, is he good enough to be put in at Real Madrid week in, week out?
Yes, I think so. I mean, he showed last season that he did the job. It wasn't perfect. That was his first year. He's still very young. And we're going to talk about Osen next to him, who showed more maturity. Raul Asencio has to calm down. He has to make sure that he makes the right moves. That was a stupid movement, grabbing the shirt and therefore getting the red card. He will have to make some better decision while he's defending, and that's it. He has to cool down a little bit to make sure that he is clear in his head and he knows what he has to do. But he has to be helped by the others as well. And I'm pretty sure he can make with Rudiger, with Oysen, he's gonna work hard and he's gonna get better.
First choice centre back, Sid, Huijsen and Militao when he's back, I assume.
Yeah, I think so. Depending, of course, on what they decide with Rudiger, because of course, if you've got Rudiger and Militao, you may well decide one. You may well decide one or the other of those two. I think you want a Howson playing because I think you want someone who brings the ball out. He's been quite explicit actually about talking about how Xabi Alonso has asked him to do that kind of play, to bring the ball out from the back, to give them the starting point of those moves, which really and truly they didn't have last season. I think Howson's going to be really important. And I think Asensio is an interesting case because I think partly he stood out last year because he was physically strong, very aggressive, very quick, and covering lots of gaps. I think if you've got a defence that doesn't leave those gaps, and you haven't got that player who's essentially his biggest quality is the ability to kind of sweep up for others and tidy up problems for others because of his physical capacity, then I think that his qualities will probably be diminished, or at least will not be shown so much. So yeah, I think it will be Howson and either Rudiger or Militao, unless of course Xabi does end up playing with three central defenders.
So, Sid, the narrative coming into this was that of all the European teams, Real Madrid were the ones that were taking it seriously. How has that been taken over the last week?
Right, okay, so there's a couple of things here. The first one is to say, when you talk about how seriously a country, if you like, a footballing environment is taking a tournament, and you talk about Spain, really and truly it comes down to Real Madrid. So, does this competition matter in Spain? Yes, because Real Madrid are playing it in terms of the following of the games, in terms of people's interest in it, in terms of media coverage and so on. Now, here's the problem, though. And it's impossible to do this, and I need to try and think of a way of doing this. I'm not entirely convinced that what we're seeing in terms of the coverage, in terms of the following of it, and in terms of the analysis of it, is really massively different from what we would normally see in pre-season. By which I mean the focus is, and of course we're doing it as well now, the focus is on what Xabi Alonso is building, not is this a competition Xabi Alonso is going to win. Right. Now I think that focus may well happen from the knockout stage onwards because of course everybody assumes they'll get through the group and they'll get through the group winning it despite the fact they didn't win the first game. So the focus I think is on the construction of a team rather than necessarily on the competition, if you see what I mean. Now, that's one thing. The flip side of this is that there was an interview on Spanish TV the other day with Florentino Perez, who almost never talks to the media, in which he talked, and I must admit, I thought talked in a slightly strange way. I don't know how to put this politely. He appeared a bit confused. And he talks about the importance of this competition and how this was what he'd been looking for in an elite worldwide competition where people could watch Real Madrid for free and this were the very, very best teams around. And he was, if you like, investing in this competition with a significance. Now, of course, you know that if he is saying that, that filters through the whole club. Now, regardless of whether or not you agree with his argument and for what it's worth, I didn't think it made a huge amount of sense. But that tells you that Real Madrid do care, but they care in the context of a team that's being constructed.
And I'm sure they'll care a lot more if they win it. That's where we are. The further you get in this competition, the more seriously Real Madrid are going to take it. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
125 million times more they'll care about it.
Yes, indeed. A word on Arda Güler, of course. This is kind of given his season where he maybe stumbled last year after that performance in the Euros. It's only 2 games. Yeah. Ali mentioned getting the ball more. That's what they're looking to do. It's kind of tricky, isn't it, to come to any sort of conclusions?
Well, it is, but at the end of the day, when you get an opportunity, you have to take it. Right. And you cannot argue that today he took it. He scored a great goal. He put the work in. And he had some nice passing, some nice movement. So at the end of the day, Arda Güler can only turn up and produce. And after that, it's up to the manager whether he plays him or not. So for Arda Güler, forget everything else, just perform. And then you'll find out whether you're in or out.
The key for Arda Güler is going to be whether Real Madrid gets back to being in control of matches. And I'm not even talking about the Club World Cup. I'm talking as we project into the season. Can they control matches? If you go back to last season, it is hard to think of matches in which Real Madrid were in full control of the pace of the game. Were in full control of how the game was going to be played. Why is that important for Arda Güler? Because he is a guy that needs some freedom to go and get the ball wherever he sees fit. He is a guy that does need sort of that ability to, I'm gonna appear in this space, I'm gonna appear in that space. And in order to do that, your team has to have the ball consistently. And that wasn't always the case for Real Madrid last season, in which at times they became very much a transition team. And in fact, it's what they were today as well, a transition team. So if they control the pace of the game, he becomes far more effective. A point that Sid made there about the back three. We already saw it today. Late in the match, Xabi Alonso, unnecessarily so because the game was under control, he said, let me see what this looks like.
Right.
And if you go back to Bayer Leverkusen, that's how he played, with a back three. And so don't be surprised. We're asking ourselves, well, is this guy going to play, or is that guy going to play, or is that guy going to play? How about all three of them could play? All the three guys that you mentioned. They could be the ones that are starting. And in fact, he put out wing back on the right-hand side, wing back on the left-hand side. I don't know that you can get away doing that with Real Madrid, but that is what we saw from Xabi Alonso by Leverkusen, and he tried it today. Didn't work out all that well because they actually gave up a goal late in the match. Regardless, it's something that he wanted to try and he wanted to see.
Go on, Frank, last point with you.
Yeah, whatever we can say about the team that we saw, and I agree with Ali when he said at first that they were a little bit better when they were 10 against 11. But if they don't have Thibaut Courtois, they lose that game. That's as simple as that. I mean, after the red card from Asencio, they have Pachuca have a very big chance where Osen plays very well, the 1 against 2, but after Courtois had like two saves. But he had like 6 or 7 saves today. And without him, I mean, some people, they put Jude Bellingham player of the game. I mean, some people don't know anything about football. Courtois was the man of the match. He was, no, really, with all due respect for Jude, you know, he scored the goal there. But Courtois saved Real Madrid today. That's a fact. And it says a lot about the fact that, yeah, they were 10 against 11, but they were opened up from the beginning. So without him, I think it would have been a different story.